In our school books, there used to be topics depicting the early 20th century devastation. Sometime it is akal. Akal means the complete sukha, where people are not even getting food to eat. And sometime there are situations where a village will be wiped out by cholera, diarrhea. So, this world is like this always. And moreover, we are going to give this body today or tomorrow. Pandemic, no pandemic. Since we have taken birth, we already have the warning that don't be attached to this body, because you have to give up this body. So in that sense, in this world, nothing in this world should make any sense to us. If anything in this world makes sense to you, then there is some problem with you. Okay? Nice family, nice house, nice children, nice relatives, nice friends. This kind of hallucination and illusion, they are only there in the fool's dictionary. Not in the dictionary where you really understand the spiritual intelligence. Can you bring that Ramayana? I'll tell you how this Lord Ram's Lila. Recently we completed Ramayana, and in Ramayana we talked about that how Lord Ram was always challenged. He was only 16-year-old, and Vishwamitra comes and tells him, let's go, have a fight with the Rakshasas. Then he got married, and then he's supposed to be the king, and then he is sent to forest exile. In the forest exile, his wife is being kidnapped. It's very humiliating, particularly for a Kshatriya, to see that his wife has been humiliated, his wife has been kidnapped. Is very humiliating. I don't know, it is very easy to say, oh, Sita was kidnapped, but to think that your wife has been kidnapped and you are feeling helpless is very humiliating, extremely humiliating. And then, when he locates Sita, and then he completely destroys the army of Ravana, including Ravana himself. And then Lord Ram is not able to be happy, because he knows that if he takes Sita back to Ayodhya, people will say that this girl, this woman was there in another's house for 1 year. What did she do? Who knows? So in spite of having Agni Parikya, in spite of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma saying, Sita is absolutely pure. Agnidev is clarifying the purity of Sita. All these things are done. Still, after Ram goes and gets coronated, and still this becomes the major reason for people calling Lord Ram's name. So there are, in his kingdom there was no disease. Those who wanted to live as long as they want, they could live. Everything was in opulence. Everything was in abundance. Whether it are the grains, milk, fruits, jewels, everything was in abundance. But still people, because when there is an abundance, people will start speaking. And they spoke about, they pointed finger at Ram, he is henpecked. And Lord Ram has to rule for 11,000 years. How can you rule like that? When your position is not respected. So again he has to banish Sita. And after banishing Sita, you see, normally you become a king. King means you saw that how Dasarath Maharaj every day, these musicians, the orchestra party would come and play the music in morning raga, and then they would praise Dasarath for his parakrama, for his valor, for his heroism, so that Dasarath gets up. Right? So, because a king is always under tension. So that's why the kings used to have many wives. But here Lord Ram is a king, but living like a brahmacari, sannyasi. And so I will read the final journey of Lord Ram, and you will understand that how we should be. If these are the things that happened to Lord Ram in Treta, when situation must be trillion times better than what we have now, right? So here I will read little bit about Lord Ram's departure, and that should give us enough conviction that we have to learn. We have only objective in this world is to learn to fly our plane back to Godhead. This is what Srila Prabhupada used to tell. So you see here, the Mahakala has come under the direction of Brahma, and he had a confidential meeting with Lord Ram, and that time Kala made a agreement with Lord Ram that nobody should enter, and if anybody allows to distract our meeting, then you must banish him from your kingdom. So Laxman was made the doorkeeper, and they had the meeting. Brahma informed him that your Lila is over, now you may take leave. And that is the time when you see from here Vishwamitra, Durvasa suddenly appears there. And he says, I am very hungry, I want to meet Lord Ram. Laxman says, you can't go. Then he says, if you don't allow me, then I'll curse your entire dynasty, your Ram and everyone. So Laxman knows that if he allows someone into the meeting, then he will be banished by Lord Ram. But if he doesn't allow Durvasa inside, then the entire dynasty will be cursed. And that is why he said it is better he accepts the consequence of allowing Durvasa to enter than allowing the kingdom to be destroyed. So, and then by the time Kala leaves, Durvasa says, I am very hungry. Rama feeds him very nicely. But then Rama thought very deeply over the matter, that he had an agreement with Mahakala that nobody should interrupt the meeting. So then in the assembly he announced, adhering to righteousness, I hereby order the banishment of Laxman from Ayodhya. See how, if you want to lead a truthful life, this material world is very difficult, very difficult. No gentleman can ever live in this world. No gentleman. Prabhupada used to say, this material world is not a place for gentlemen. And the ministers all applauded Ram's decision. Thereafter, Laxman went to the banks of river Sarayu, observed his mind in the practice of mystic yoga. Then when the time became ripe, King Indra suddenly appeared there, riding a celestial chariot. Thus in his self-some transcendental body, Laxman ascended to heaven amidst the singing of Gandharvas, the dancing of Apsaras, and showers of fragrant flowers. That means when Laxman was banished, she realized that there is no purpose of him here in this world, because his only purpose was to serve Lord Ram. When that service was snatched away, so he decided to give up his life. Of course, Laxman is Vishnu Tattva. He cannot give up his life. So in his spiritual body, he went back. So once Laxman disappeared, Rama decided to install Bharata upon the royal throne so that he could be free to follow the Laxman's path. However, Bharata refused to occupy the throne, for he preferred to accompany Ram to the forest rather than enjoy the kingdom without him. Some Ram wanted someone to take over the kingdom such that he can now depart. So Ram is now conducting departure Leela. Bharata refused. He says, no, enough is enough. I have already gone through the torture of 14 years when you voluntarily took forest exile. Now you are living alone. I will follow your path. So then Lord Ram would install Lava and Kush. He will divide his kingdom into two parts, Northern Kosala and Southern Kosala, and divide into Lava and Kush. He will make love in one part the king, the other part Kush is the king, and then he will leave. When the citizens heard of Ram's intention to retire to the forest, they became determined to follow him. Their grief due to the impending separation was unbearable. Satrughna was also intent upon following Ram. Thus when Lord Ram finally came out of the city, there was a great procession following him. Indeed, because of their love and devotion, every living entity followed Ram to the forest, so that not even an animal could be seen in Ayodhya. In case of Ram, of course, he is God. If we follow the path of God, we are all saved. But what about me? When I go to the jungle and millions, if they follow me, they will all go to hell. So when Rama silently walked everyone could see that he was exhibiting a mood of complete detachment and indifference, as if preparing to give up the world. So when Ram left, he is not speaking anything. He is completely silent, prasanta. He is as silent as the Pacific Ocean. Ram's potency appeared in personified form to accompany him. Sri walked in Ram's right side, Bhumi on the left side, Shakti walked in the front. So Ram is never alone. In one side Sita, the other side Bhudevi, and in the front his own Shakti. Innumerable other energies of Lord Ram, Omkara, Gayatri, Vedas, they all followed him. Shatrugna and his family followed Bharata. Then came the Brahmanas, who tended sacrificial fire. Behind the Brahmanas walked all the citizens according to their positions. Following them came all the animals. So there is a hierarchical structure in that procession. When he arrived at the bank of river Sarayu, Ram paused. At that time, Lord Brahma and demigods appeared overhead in their celestial chariots. The sky was thus lit up with a transcendental radiance, and gentle, sweet-smelling breezes began to blow. The Gandharvas and Apsaras sang and danced. The demigods savoured the most fragrant of celestial flowers. As Lord Ram entered the water, Lord Brahma offered his prayer as follows: O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are now concluding your earthly pastimes and are preparing to return to your transcendental abode beyond this material world. You are the eternal Lord Vishnu. Although you appear in various incarnations, your body is unchanging and original. It is you alone who are the cause of all causes and the support of all existence. Everything is thus part and parcel of you. For you are the supreme absolute truth, the source of all emanation. O Lord, you have so kindly appeared to remove the burden of the earth. Thus let us offer our respectful obeisances unto you again and again. Followed by Bharata and Shatrugna, Lord Ram thus returned to his eternal abode in the spiritual sky. Indeed, not only the sons of Dasarath, but all of their followers attained Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord Ram eternally resides, the Saket Dham. So if you say, ultimately we have to prepare for this journey. So pandemic tells us, are you ready? If we are a sincere seeker of truth, it tells us, are we ready? It's very important. And if we are not ready, then we should feel ashamed. We should feel ashamed that any time the notice would have come for me to get ready. But I am not ready. The pandemic is there, I am not ready. I am fearing. I am fearing what is going to happen to me. I am fearing that all around people are only talking about one thing: when the pandemic will go out. Why are we so worried about pandemic? Except taking enough precaution. We should take this example, our situation. We should accept every situation as a blessings of Krishna and turn that situation into an advantage. So pandemic is there. Let me become stronger. Let me become inward. Let me become freed from my all false ego, my unlimited material desires. Let me forgo all those things. Let me be within myself. Let me become the instrument of Krishna. So this is how I should think. And we did Ram Katha, we did quiz. This is specifically for this reason, so that all of us can memorize the pastimes of Lord Ram, and that way our consciousness can be uplifted. And one more thing we have to learn from this pandemic is that we should seek out for more spiritual experience. If we don't have spiritual experience, then mind and senses, they would feel being restricted. Only when we give or we seek out the spiritual experience, senses and mind will be tamed. Otherwise, senses and mind, they will create all kind of drama, and hence we are going to be destroyed at some point of time. So that is why, my dear friends, it is very important for us that yes, it's very depressing situation. Many devotees are sick. People all around are sick. There are no hospital beds available, and it's a very heart-wrenching situation. But if we focus on them, we will become depressed. If we focus on the pandemic situation, we will certainly become depressed. The best way is to withdraw our attention and imagine. I'm not saying this is what it is now, but imagine this is the exactly time for annihilation. Exactly time for annihilation. It could be, right? At any time it can, of course, not arbitrarily, but at some point of time there will be a point of annihilation. When annihilation takes place, we all have to forego our body, our subtle body, everything we have to forego. Because in annihilation, everything will become unmanifest, partially. But there will be partial annihilation. So the idea here is that how strongly I am adhering myself to the association of the holy name. So holy name should be the only reclusive shelter for us during this time. We should deeply read Bhagavatam, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, so many transcendental literature. We should read carefully so that we soak ourselves in the spiritual intelligence. There are many things that we learned. For example, in Ram Lila, we learned that how if somebody is seeking the shelter, we must give him. Right? Somebody is seeking shelter of Krishna. We should not say, oh, you are a Pakistani, or you are a Muslim, or you are Dalit. No. The Lord Ram's teaching is, when Vibhishan came, he accepted, although Sugriv and others were advising against. But anybody who wants to, even if somebody is born in a Rakhyasa Kula, Lord Ram is saying, no, my job is to give shelter to everyone. Similarly, anyone and everyone, if he wants to surrender to the process of Krishna consciousness, then we must engage him or her, irrespective of what is his caste, creed, nationality, it doesn't matter. Okay. Similarly, there are so many things that we learnt from Ram's pastime. One is that to rule a kingdom, you must earn the confidence of the citizens. So we had this idea of monarchy, means whatever king wants, that is the way the kingdom should be run. No, we saw Lord Ram wanted, he ensured that the citizens were taken into confidence, and one of the reason for banishment of Mother Sita is to earn that confidence of the people. That's why he banished Mother Sita. And the second Agni Parikya was simply to ensure that people are not talking about Lord Ram, but they should not point finger to Mother Sita. So when Sita came in front of everyone, she didn't agree for a second Agni Parikya. What she agreed is that in front of everyone, she called out Mother Earth and said, please accept me if I am pure. So by that process, nobody on the earth is pointing finger at Mother Sita, but majority, they point finger at Lord Ram. So Lord Ram, by his action, it seems why Lord Ram did it. But if Lord Ram would not have done that, people would have criticized Mother Sita. Now Ram is being criticized, not Sita. So this thing, this is what Lord Ram ensured. So what is good for others, only Krishna knows. We don't know. We should not speculate. This is how things should move. So it is very, very tough situation. It's like a razor's sword. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? Okay. So in case of Lord Ram, he took a decision by which, for the posterity, that everybody would blame Lord Ram, not Mother Sita. So that is the confidential reason for Lord Ram asking Sita to give Agni Parikya. Second time. There are reasons when Lord Ram accepted Banvas. Why did he accept the Banvas? It happens because no two devotees can work together. My last 10 years I have seen, you put two devotees under one roof, they would fight. They would eventually fight. And so you have to do some man management, shifting one person from here to there and doing something like that. But the point here is that any seeker of truth, if a situation is demanding that I must accept a situation of unknown, that should be very interesting. Because Lord Ram becoming king is a known situation. And Lord Ram going to the forest is an unknown situation. What would happen in the forest, nobody knows. Lot of uncertainties. You don't have your own army. You have nobody. You have to collect fruits and roots, and that's all by which you will be satisfied. So we have seen those who want to dedicate their life to Krishna, at some point of life they have a calling from their heart. Enough is enough. Now I must search out for myself. So they accept the situation of unknown. They give up the comfort of their home. And Lord Ram did the same thing. He rejected the known situation because he knew that everybody loves him. He would have a fantastic time in Ayodhya. But by going to the forest and facing all those challenges, he learned a lot for his life. Similarly, Prabhupada said, an active soul cannot stop preaching. Preaching means you will have more challenges. You have to create more opportunities. Because every time, like when I was in Bits Pilani, that time there was a level of ignorance that is different. Now the level of ignorance is even more degraded and more that of ignorance. So every time you look at the world, how to convey this message of Krishna consciousness to others is not an easy thing. Going to the new frontier, mingling with new categories of consciousness, not finding fault with them, rather encouraging them in Krishna consciousness. I have seen often devotees, when I send them together to work, serve, they find fault of each other. But a preacher should never find fault with others, because if we start finding fault with others, then we can't preach. But we devotees, we find fault with others. So this is one of the very, very alarming situation, because we have very minuscule level of realization. We are not detached, we are not empowered to lead, and hence we become failure in all front. So if we take shelter of Krishna repeatedly in so many ways, adhering to the chanting of Hare Krishna again and again and again and again, then only we can practice Krishna consciousness nicely. I have seen in last 30-35 years, there are so many people that have come to Krishna consciousness, and they are no more there in the horizon. They've all vanished. And this is the truth. In IIT Kanpur, we have fed so much of prasadam to so many people, but hardly in fingertip we can count who are even, as a tokenism, they are practicing Krishna consciousness. There are hardly few. So that is the nature of this world. Nature of this world is that the world is not interested. They are interested in pandemic. That is why pandemic is there. They need pandemic to talk about. Nowadays, any website, any news column, all about pandemic. People have forgotten. I'll tell you very nice philosophical point. You see, these Mayavadis, how the Mayavadis, they teach Vedanta. So Mayavadis, they teach Vedanta like this. An ant is so small, it can perceive the tiny part of the pure consciousness. And from ant you go to the higher, little higher and higher, that consciousness would expand. And then there is a human consciousness that's much bigger than the ant, and then cat, dog, tiger, elephant, lion. And then Mayavadis, they teach, in the human form, you have the capacity to expand your consciousness so much so that you can become as big as infinite consciousness. This is Mayavada Vedanta. So Mayavada Vedanta is saying that there is one infinite consciousness, but that consciousness was restricted or compressed through an ant, and there are 8.4 million such species. They don't allow this to be expressed completely. But in human life, I can conceive the infinite consciousness. And then Mayavadis proudly say, my Gurudev attained Godhood. My Gurudev attained Godhood because his consciousness got so expanded, that he burst out of from his body. His body could not catch that big consciousness. That is why my Gurudev only lived for 30 years, 35 years, 39 years. He could have lived many, many years. So this kind of rascaldom is going on. This kind of rascaldom is going on. And in terms of Vedanta. And everybody feels, yes. In the human form of life, I can expand my consciousness. What consciousness you would expand? Simple pandemic is completely, overpowering you. Simple pandemic is overpowering you. And we say that we can expand our consciousness. The only thing that can save us is service of Krishna. When we have service of Krishna, and that is assigned to us by a pure devotee of Krishna, such services to Krishna. We have been assigned to chant Krishna's name. We cannot even chant Krishna's name, one name purely. And we say that we can explain, those idiots who said they have expanded their consciousness, ask them, chant Krishna's name purely. They cannot even chant Krishna's name purely. And they say, we can expand our consciousness to only... I was shocked how these people they talk about. And we have a lot of challenge because such pollutions are going on everywhere. There are enough challenge for us. I am calling out that we need a team, dedicated team, to expand our LG activity, Learn Gita, Live Gita activity. Nobody has written me a single mail also. That Lila Purushottam Das, I would be very happy to be part of this thing. Not a single mail has come. So obviously, you will be very depressed because you people are not interested to accept service to Krishna. So, there are so many loophole because this Mayavad is a speculate. They say in one hand this world is false, and still they say the consciousness of an ant is real. It's real, and it is only understanding a minuscule nature of the pure consciousness. And human understands little better, and among all others it is better. But human have the ability to expand that consciousness. What stupid things they talk about. The material body is manifestation of ignorant consciousness. Even in human form of life, our consciousness can be worse than that of a plant. You go to a plant, you pluck a fruit, plant will not object. Plant would share its own body for our food. You go and pluck a Kerala, bitter gourd from the plant would not object, oh, this is my Kerala, my fruit, don't take it. In human form, even we cannot have that kind of attitude. We can't even share our body. So human form can be more polluting than any of these other 8.4 million species, because all other 8.4 million species, they can really do certain things that we cannot do. But in human form of life, we can recognize this is illusion, and we can seek spiritual experience. But my spiritual experience, how vast it could be, it is only minuscule. I can only reciprocate with only one person, that is Krishna. And I can establish my relationship with Krishna through a Guru Parampara. That's all. My consciousness is always minuscule, even after liberation. It will never expand. Krishna's consciousness is always expansive, and he accommodates everyone. He reciprocates with everyone. And Mayavadis, they talk so nonsense. We don't understand the truth properly. We don't deliberate upon it. And hence, and we see we have to confront these idiots. Punch them with a nice debate. It is necessary. So learn Gita, live Gita, should do lot of workshop, lot of all these things, inviting people, engaging in debate. But we are doing nothing. It has become standstill activity now. So my dear friends, we have so many things to do, But unfortunately, because we are not thinking about Krishna, our meditation on Krishna is so poor, so shallow, we are not getting spiritually inspired. So my dear friends, please give up such notion and realize that Krishna is so infinite. He alone can make me happy, nobody else. My despondency, my depression is because I am disconnected from Krishna. If at all I have to do something, I have to strengthen my connection with Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Any question? If you have any concern, you can also ask. Arey, where is this Bansal? Why is it not showing me the questions? Alright, yes, Laxman. Anshul Agrawal, what are the ways Mayavadis suggest to expand their so-called consciousness by imagination? They imagine to become God. They are subjected to the last snare of the Maya. Aruya Kuchrana Param Padam Tata. They perform severe austerity. But they assume that they have become God. They imagine. If you say that, suppose you have the ability to expand yourself to infinite consciousness, then how that infinite consciousness can come under the illusion? So this is their speculation. They are idiots. They are Prabhupada has used very nice words for them. These Mayavadis are always doomed, Prabhupada said. I remember I had a friend and he was a Mayavadi. In IIT Delhi, he came to Krishnan sir one day in our evening program and he was reading out Prabhupada's conclusion about Mayavadis. And he was reading out, he was crying and saying, how could Prabhupada speak about us like this? And what answer this fellow should be given? Because he has come to the temple, so sir didn't chastise him. But he said that Let's not focus on what Prabhupada has talked about. Let's focus on what is the position of Mayavadis. Just because you people follow some Vedic rituals, you follow certain austerities based on Vedic rituals, you can declare yourself that you know the truth? No. Your process, Mayavadi process, is imagination and speculation. Recently in one of the talk I was telling that how modern science and Mayavadi philosophy both are same. You should hear that, then you will understand. Ujjwal, why do Vedas not directly describe Lord Krishna's position and form and only gives indirectly? I mean, why there is a scope of interpretation of the absolute truth as impersonal? Because God is perfect. He allows you to speculate. Then you should say, why did he build this material world? There is no need for material world. He could have put everyone as dormant in the body of Mahavishnu and would have been very happy. No. So those dormant jivas, they are thrown into this material world, and those who are filtered and those who are able to filtered one are able to accept Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna comes, Lord Rama comes. As I told you, Lord Ram came, delivered 10 to the power 66 monkeys. So there are enough, they are going back to Godhead. Lord is not crying. Next, how do you know? Suppose Mayavadis would not have been there. How can I say Lila Purushottam knows devotional service? If atheists are not there, how can I say I am a devotee of Krishna? Because they are there, and I have an opportunity to realize that what nonsense they are speaking. I again and again test myself against their ignorance and see whether if any of those ignorance makes accord with me. If it makes accord, then I am still not fit to go back to Godhead. Panchal, how to seek out spiritual experience so that material hankering and senses can be relaxed. I told you that you become a full-time devotee. Instead you selected to be in a royal palace of NUS. So how can you get spiritual experience? You do padayatra. By walking you go. I have told so many times this Anmol, I don't know whether he is there, that organized a padayatra from Kanpur to Vrindavan. We chant, we dance, we do Sankirtan. These are the things that are going to give spiritual experience. Our great friend Sarvatma Syam is telling me, now he has taken up Pujari Seva, and because he has taken up Pujari Seva, he has to take bath 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and he says that this is really enlivening him. Spiritual life is always, when we practice Krishna consciousness, whom we preach, they act our worst enemy. And I have personally experienced it again and again and again. Then after some time I realize this is a challenge for me to expand my inner consciousness and surrender to Krishna better and better and better. So if somebody, see, unless there is a calling from your heart, you cannot seek out spiritual experience. Spiritual experience will not come for people who are sleeping, who are dead. Spiritual experience means accepting the position of unknown. What position you have taken is known position. That is a normal, anybody who is taking. See, I am not discouraging you. You have gone to NUS, your job is now to do PhD, finish it. But my point is that even in that position, probably you can use that position in Krishna's service, we don't know. But the point is that in every situation, you can always, because everything is Krishna's energy, right? So any social position also can be used in Krishna's service. So, but it is possible only when you are looking for, you are feeling that you are lacking spiritual experience. If you think that I have enough experience but if you are seeking for material experience, then your spiritual practice is just a show business. Show business. A preacher should not find fault in others. Could you please elaborate that? Yes. If I would have, tried to find fault with each one of you, then probably I would not have continued in IIT Kanpur. When I started preaching here, there are people here itself, in my absence will come and tell others that this Lila Purushottam is a rascal idiot. And this silsila is going on for last, and I thought at least it has stopped. And last year I saw how two rascals and traitors, they behaved. This goes on. And if I would have seen, these are all like this, I should give up everything. This preaching is nonsense. I should be simply say, no, if I would have looked at all those fault, probably I could not have continued. This is my own experience. My own experience. We teach people Krishna consciousness, and after getting trained, they go and then they demand that I should get a partner who is well qualified, most beautiful, should give me a maximum dowry, and what not, should be of my caste. And after training people for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, they make such demands. If I were to see all those things, probably I could not have slept. That this is the category of people we are producing. They even don't understand. Kiva nyasi, kiva vipra, kiva sudra noy. Jai Krishna tattvaveta sai guru hoy. So, yes, so we understand ignorance is too much. And if I am able to do little bit to remove that ignorance, I am very happy. But if you start seeing the fault, they are under ignorance, they don't understand. Why this fellow who has already done PhD and everything, and is searching for a partner, and is demanding that I need a most beautiful wife of my caste, well educated, can give me a lot of dowry. That means he is full of ignorance. So what fault I will find with him? The moment I find fault with such people, I will have unlimited fault. What principle Swami Vivekananda was preaching? Swami Vivekananda was preaching what I told you, that he can expand his consciousness to infinite consciousness, and he said that he is going to die because his consciousness is expanding so much that his body cannot accommodate it. And then his followers said, Vivekananda burst out of his body and became God. Srila Prabhupada never said that he became God. In fact, anybody who told Prabhupada that you are God, Prabhupada banished him from the movement. God is God. Nobody can become God. Next, Sarmishta Das. Ramdev Baba is Mayavadi. Yes, his philosophy is that of Mayavadi. Correct. But see, as I told you, we don't find any fault with others. We only look at the philosophy. We only look at philosophy. I am not here to criticize Vivekananda, Ramdev Baba or anybody. The only person I criticize in my life is myself. Next, in preaching we find some individuals who are very responsive to spiritual input, and some have to chase and induce somehow. What he's saying, I don't understand. Who we are very responsive to spiritual input, and some we have to chase and induce somehow or other. Should a preacher differentiate between two categories, and should we prioritize one over the other since we have limited time and resources? One thing is that you see, somebody asked me what is the distinction between Vivekananda and Prabhupada. So I am not here. Here I have to discriminate. As a pure devotee of Krishna, I am not going to speak a single word about it. But as a preacher, I have to speak, because otherwise, if I say Vivekananda is nice, so also Prabhupada is nice, then your ignorance would never be removed. So I have to tell what philosophy Srila Prabhupada preached. So it is the philosophy that is important. It is the knowledge that is important. So to highlight that knowledge, we have to discriminate. So, if spiritual input is given to someone, like I remember in Bits Palani, this Mukundan is hearing, or I don't know, Sanjay, there is a student there, and that student was following Sai Baba. And she was very emotionally involved. And when she came to me and said that, no, in the class you talked so badly about Sai Baba, I love him. I said, what do you love him? I also love the Atma Sai Baba. But I don't love the philosophy Sai Baba. What is his philosophy? Tell me. Each Atma is part and parcel of Krishna. But when there is ignorance, that ignorance must be pointed, whether it is Sai Baba or X or Y or Z. When Mother Sita is trying to point out the fault of Lord Ram, can you imagine? Not that she wanted to find fault with Ram, she wanted that her husband should not be derailed from the path of Dharma. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, in spiritual life, objective criticism must be there. And somebody is criticizing me, I always ask input. Suppose I give a lecture, I present some Bhagavad Gita, I ask critical feedback from all of you, whether this is good or nobody gives, because nobody is capable or people are fearing, I don't know. But we want. Philosophy must be questioned again and again. It doesn't matter. Any philosophy, Vaishnava philosophy, do you understand Vaishnava philosophy? What is your understanding of Vaishnava philosophy? To say I am a Vaishnava is nonsense. The Bhagavad Tattva hardly people understand. Even after practicing 40 years, 50 years, they give up Krishna consciousness. How? Because they have no idea about the Tattva. Tattva is revealed. So many times I tell that everything is only present, everywhere is consciousness. This doesn't enter into many of your heart. Why? Because you don't seek out the Tattva. Next. So do we do pranayam for our better health? Yes. Yes, you can, particularly nowadays. Yesterday I again started pranayama, although it is very boring, but I started pranayama fearing Corona may come and make my consciousness troublesome. So I was also doing pranayama yesterday. I did in the morning and evening. Nalini Mataji, who among the four brothers is the role model for a spiritual seeker? Lord Ram alone. I think all of them. Nalini Mataji, all of them. Laxman perfectly acted how to serve Lord Ram. So also Bharat. So also Satrughna. All of them. All of them. Abhishek Jaiswal. Our Mayavadi is worse than non-transcendentalist. They are not only worse, they are doomed. Materialist, there is a hope they can be converted into a devotee. For Mayavadis, there is no hope. Unless they make friendship with a devotee. They are also, because Rasaraj Prabhu once telling, when he was in Chennai temple, some Ramakrishna sannyasis, they came to the temple. And each one of them, they came in a big vehicle. And around 10 sannyasis got down, entered into the temple. And each one of them purchased one Krishna book. And then they left. So, we cannot say it is possible Lila Purushottam Das sitting here is the biggest Mayavadi, whereas someone sitting in a Mayavadi ashram may be one of the pure devotees of Krishna. Next. Can you kindly share over a short message or verbally a bit about your vision of LGLG, how it expected to evolve over the next few years? I have told so many people that LG means our first target is 7 million people. 7 million people, we want to educate them in the science of Bhagavad Gita and the science of Ramayana and the science of Krishna book. And this is not a small target. So, and this process of educating can be done in so many ways. By doing relevant research, by conducting short certificate courses, 3-day courses, 5-day courses, 7-day courses, online Bhagavad Gita course, online Bhagavad Gita comprehensive course, and we have to produce a lot of literature regarding this, videos, and so we need help. We need full-time people who can come. If I tell them, please read Mundaka Upanishad and find out this particular aspect of the soul. If somebody is able to go find a book on Mundaka Upanishad and read and prepares one paragraph. So these kind of things enough. Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Please go and read Gopal Tapani Upanishad. So we need a big team. We need to have nice website. From time to time we have to conduct different quizzes. Ramayana quiz sometime, Krishna book quiz sometime, Bhagavad Gita quiz sometime, among children, among older people, adults. And we need a dedicated team for it. But if you simply sit down, nothing will happen. Okay, I will stop here. Jitendra Soni, 7.24, Krishna says that unintelligent man think Krishna was impersonal before, then assume this personality due to their small knowledge. Does Krishna say this for Mayavadis? Not for only Mayavadis, for everyone. How does Mayavadi interpret this even after Krishna clearly explains about his personal form? Please ask the Mayavadis. Once I had encountered a Mayavadi, and he was my friend's good friend. I hosted him, I fed him nice prasadam, but when philosophical discussion happened, he spoke about Mayavadi. And then during the discussion I dragged him, I said that because he was telling that because that Mayavadi was eating non-veg. I said, how can you eat non-veg and you say that you are spiritualist? He says we can eat everything with love and devotion. I said, you can offer everything to Krishna? Yes. So and he says everything offered to Krishna in love and devotion he would accept. I asked him, will you accept everything in love and devotion? So then he said, yes. Then I told him, out of anger, if I offer you my poti, my excreta, would you accept? Then he said yes. Then I was, I was so speechless. And then I asked my teacher, after he came back from America, that this is how is my encounter with the Mayavadi. Then he told me that you should have offered him cow urine and cow dung, 1 kg cow dung and 1 liter cow urine, and you should have seen whether he is eating or not. So anyway, we are talking about Mayavadism not because we are looking at the very Mayavadism must be sitting within our heart. The very Ravana must be sitting in our heart. That is why we talk about it. We have no interest in vilifying X or Y or Z. Please try to understand this. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarvesya kripa sindhuvevacha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.